Welcome to everyone who's joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to some of our colleagues in Australia joining us today. We appreciate you taking the time to join us with your busy schedule. Hope everyone is doing well and keeping safe. As I said, thank you for joining our live webinar today on building a test automation path for the suite of Temenos core banking applications. This is in joint collaboration with Atoma and Testhouse. Our main focus for today is the product from Atoma called TARIS, which translates to Test and Release Intelligence Solution. My name is Mel Ancheta, and I will be your host. Before we begin, I am very privileged to introduce our four lovely speakers briefly today for you. Jack Mortesan is the head of strategic relationships for Testhouse. Jack is an industry thought leader and seasoned entrepreneur who has more than 20 years of experience under his belt. He's offering agile and IT assurance consulting to financial establishments such as Bank of America, BNP Paribas, RBS, to name a few. Greg Bodka is a product expert working with Atoma for the last 14 years, focusing on purely test automation. Greg is a product owner of the testing module of TARIS, and he is responsible for the test automation training. He has participated in many test automation projects around the globe for T24 introduction and upgrades. Very, very experienced individual in full end-to-end test automation, including automation of codes and interface stubs. Balazs Lackey is a product and delivery manager working with Atoma as well for the last 14 years. Balazs is managing the Temenos specific product suite, delivered very successful installations and consultancy for large tier 1 and small agile banks across the globe. Balazs' main area expertise is change and release management, but also process and test automation. And the last one, Anthony Leach, is the training and e-learning manager with more than 15 years experience in the financial sector, managing and delivering bespoke training and marketing simulations for banks worldwide. He is also managing the development of a TARIS tutorial studio module and delivering Temenos T24 training projects to clients. Before we begin, this session will be recorded, and as always, I'd like to encourage everyone to please submit their questions. Our aim for today is it's an interactive session with you today, so please do submit your questions using the chat box, or please do ask our speakers directly during the Q&A. So without further delay, I now pass you over to my colleague Jack, who will introduce Testhouse briefly.
Thank you very much, Mel, and once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever time zone you may be situated in. I'm going to share a brief overview on Testhouse as an organization and then talk a little bit about the partnership that exists between Atoma Technologies and Testhouse. Testhouse is a global independent quality assurance and DevOps company established in the year 2000. We've just recently celebrated our 20th birthday, so a great occasion. We are around 500 employees strong. Over the 20 years, we've worked on and engaged on more than 2,100 projects across more than 275 customers. So drawing from a strong and deep pedigree of customer experience. We are a preferred QA partner to multiple leading Fortune 500 companies across the world, and as you'd expect in such a situation, you're often working for one organization in multiple geographies. As mentioned, we are global. Our head office is based in the UK, in London specifically. We also have regional offices across the globe. We have a regional office in the UAE, which covers the Middle East region, and that is specifically located in Dubai. So that covers the entire Middle East region. We also have a regional office in Australia, specifically Sydney. We have a regional office in the US, and that is Los Angeles in California. And as we speak, we're also moving into the New Zealand geography as well. As you'd expect, being a quality organization, we have certain qualifications and pedigree certifications when it comes to certifications such as ticket, IIP, and certain ISO certifications as well, ISO 9001 and 27001. And that's obviously 27001 is specific to the situation where one is providing remote access, the security protocols around that and such like. So those are important certifications that you'd expect from a quality organization. Here I'm going to briefly talk about the partnership that exists between Atoma Technologies and Testhouse. We'll cover key elements on Atoma Technologies and Testhouse, but more specifically, what are the combined advantages that come into play from the two organizations aligning their offerings and service to a client as one. Atoma Technologies, a key element to highlight is the fact that Atoma Technologies is a Temenos technology partner, hence has a deep understanding of the Temenos technology stack and the Temenos environment. So specifically around T24, very deep and a strong understanding. Testhouse as an organization, a key element to highlight is the fact that Testhouse is a pure play testing, QA and DevOps organization. So strong specialist focus that comes into play from Testhouse. So what are the real advantages that are derived from the partnership that exists across these two organizations? Firstly, one has access to the best of breed talent pool. Just to confirm around that all consultants, all Testhouse consultants that are engaged in projects are ISTQB certified. So once again, confirming the specialism. Access to the next generation testing tools. And here we'll hear a bit more about the TARIS toolset and the suite being aligned with next generation and best of breed. Rapid resource mobilization. We're able to get off the ground very quickly and mobilize onto customer projects. Despite whichever model one is engaging within, there will always be local governance that is applied to projects within a region. And all of this collectively allows one to have access to state-of-the-art quality assurance repository and reusable assets. And this is really what allows one to get a quick start into any engagement. And we'll hear a bit more about that quick start as we move through the presentation. I'd now like to hand you over to Balaj, who will tell you a bit more about the Atoma Technologies and the Temenos partnership that exists.
Thank you very much, Jack. So Atoma Technologies have been working alongside with Temenos for more than 14 years now. We identify ourselves as the tool vendor for any sort of automation or DevOps in the Temenos space. We maintain a tight partnership with Temenos and have been a premium marketplace provider, in addition to now being a technology partner. Our products are tightly integrated with all Temenos core banking products and built universally in a sense that it can be used in any phase of the product lifecycle, from the initial implementation to the BAU, or finally supporting upgrades, which is basically the two in parallel. TARIS can be deployed on-premise or cloud-hosted. It consists of different modules for various capabilities, which can be purchased and enabled by a license individually, or a license can be purchased for TARIS as a whole, whatever best suits the client's needs. Atoma is committed to its clients post-implementation also, so not just selling the tools, but providing knowledge and best practices as expert services, directly or through partners like Testhouse globally. So let's move on and look at a short presentation about our product capabilities and benefits.
Accelerating your project, expediting your testing, sustainable and controllable change, a lower cost of ownership. Welcome to Accelerating Implementations and Upgrades with Atoma TARIS. Accelerating implementations and upgrades enables Temenos customers to go live faster, increasing confidence to upgrade more frequently and enabling faster access and adoption of the latest features and benefits of the Temenos solutions. Atoma specializes in doing this while at the same time helping to significantly increase quality and customer satisfaction, reducing risk and ultimately reducing the TCO. Atoma's dedicated processes, methods and techniques for the change, test and release of the Temenos banking platforms are designed to focus on quality gains and accelerated testing. Automation aligned to the Temenos implementation methodology and using tools designed for the Temenos solutions unlocks the true value of regression testing. Realise the benefits of Atoma's optimised best practice, increased quality, up to 75% reduction in team size, reduced effort and cost, faster and lower risk. All through Atoma's unique methodology combining the perfect balance of expert people, process and tools. From planning to running your system, manage any Temenos implementation or upgrade from inception to go live. For new implementations, for production maintenance, for upgrades. Atoma has developed a unique test and quality assurance framework, TCAF, delivering a risk-based testing approach. TCAF is aligned with existing quality standards on the market. As you'd expect, TCAF is tightly integrated with the Temenos implementation methodology. Let's look in more detail at Atoma's methodology and solutions and how these fit into the project lifecycle, from initial familiarization with your new system right through to go live. For any new implementation, it's crucial to understand your Temenos solution. Atoma provide training materials in the form of e-learning covering the model bank functionality of Temenos Transact. Use our interactive simulations of the Temenos environment to learn and try out Transact, helping to understand how it works and how to test it. During the initiation and planning phase, TARIS offers a set of built-in TCAF functionality such as coverage assessment, templates, dashboards, quality test scorecards and more, assisting with the development of a test strategy and governance model for all testing activities during the project. Atoma can provide a set of test cases to test Temenos Transact Model Bank, accelerating the testing of functionality which has not been impacted by customizations, helping the bank achieve a quick start to the project. The initial system build, ISB, is the first deliverable from Temenos and includes configuration and parameterization of the system tailored to products purchased by the bank. The TARIS Test Studio module is used to execute test cases and help in the analysis of test results. The Model Bank Automated Test Suite included in TARIS can be rapidly and simply configured to the ISB to create an initial automated regression test suite for testing this first deliverable. This regression suite will be used throughout the project to ensure that no defects have been caused in the application, destabilizing the Temenos Transact L1 functionality. During the unit testing phase, the bank will focus on testing the client system build, including all customization of Temenos Transact for the country model known as L2 or bank-specific customizations known as L3. The TARIS Test Assistant module will help in recording and automatically documenting these processes, reducing the time to write test cases by 60% and assisting manual test execution with the Agile board. Test cases can then be imported into TARIS Test Studio to be automated and added into the regression test suite, which is used to ensure that no regression is injected into the application. Lessons for your L2 and L3 processes can be generated automatically using your automated test scripts or from recordings made with TARIS Test Assistant. This will add to the Model Bank training deck and can be used to onboard new personnel on the project and to train end users. Trainees learn with a set of step-by-step interactive tutorials, then verify if they understood the process. The final step will be an assessment to certify that the trainee knows how to use the application. All this training is undertaken within a standalone simulated Temenos environment, delivered from your learning management system or from the cloud. TARIS Test Studio can help during the system integration testing phase by simulating all interfaces connected to Temenos Transact and testing that all transactions sent to and received from the satellite system are correct, accelerating the overall SIT test phase. COBS can be automated using TARIS Process Manager, adding to the end-to-end automation script. The user acceptance testing phase is normally carried out manually by the end user. In addition, the test automation suite will be executed to detect any business regression on the system. The operational acceptance testing phase focuses mainly on the performance of the system. 90% of the existing test automation suite will be reused during this phase, also helping to detect any system regression in terms of response time. When all quality objectives have been met and the application has been deployed into production, the test automation suite will be baselined and reused to support any new enhancements or bug fixes. Test automation can typically result in a reduction of test effort by up to 60%, up to 90% faster regression execution, 40% less effort in test script maintenance, and 80% less effort to deploy changes and tests. Here are some Atoma clients who have experienced the benefits of accelerated testing and quality gains. Free your business processes from the change bottleneck. Reduce and contain your risk. Target your testing. Move to more agile and innovative business change. Atoma TARIS, helping banks to go live and stay live.
In the next couple of minutes, I'm going to present you what benefits you can get by using Atoma's TARIS to automate your test pack and to use it in your Temenos projects. I'm focusing now merely on the testing part. However, as in the earlier video it was mentioned, TARIS is providing solutions for change and release management as well. So in the testing landscape, what benefits you can get by automating your test pack with TARIS? First of all, TARIS knows and understands T24 in a native way, so it can interpret and it can analyze everything what is happening in T24, making the automation significantly faster and in a reduced effort and cost. You have to spend much less time to implement the scripts, and you have to spend much significantly less time in the maintenance section, as the understanding of the screens in T24 makes it much easier to apply any changes. The native way to connect to T24 and to understand T24 makes the scripting part also very easy. Practically, you don't need to do any coding by creating the automation scripts. TARIS supports real end-to-end testing, which means that full business workflows can be automated and can be executed without manual interventions. This includes interface testing as well, and also the automated execution of COBs. You can get talkative and easy to understand graphs and reports to share the results of automation and to identify the critical points in the test pack and in the system where you have to focus on more. To achieve the most benefits from TARIS, Atoma introduced best practices and typical journeys, testing journeys, which if you follow, you can get the most out of the tool. A typical testing journey begins with a manual testing, where you first have to verify that your functionalities are working. Whenever this step is concluded, so the functionality is proven, then you can spend time and effort in automating it. And in the end, this can be used as part of a performance test. The first step, the test assistant module, which supports manual testing, it replaces and actually takes over all the documentation part of the manual testing process. This makes the manual test effort roughly 60% less, so you can speed up also the manual testing. What Test Assistant does is it captures and interprets everything what the manual testers are doing in the T24 browser, interprets it and creates a unified way of test specification, which is a human and machine readable result, and also takes all the screenshots and all the documentation. This result can be reused in test automation, which is the Test Studio module of TARIS. Here you can re-execute the scripts which you captured earlier, or you can extend them by increasing coverage in data variation. You can add automated COBs, you can add interface testing and more. And in the last step in performance testing, you can once again reuse the results of the previous steps. Practically, these test scenarios, the scripts which you created for test automation, you can reuse it in performance testing. So you would have in the test scope preparation, you can get a significantly faster result, and you will be able to test the performance testing. You will be able to use real business scenarios, real banking transactions, and you can easily create a proper simulation of a daily load of your system. So Test Assistant is a very easy to use module. You can define here test cycles, you can define here the test scopes easily, and what the result is a machine and human readable test specification. That is what you can see in the middle of the screen, and also it takes all the screenshots instead of the user. So the manual testers only have to interact with the T24 browser. Everything else is taken over by Test Assistant. This way, you will get a unified documentation of manual testing. You will get a clear picture of what have been tested, what the testers actually did in the process. This test specification is editable, is easily readable, easily reproducible, and as I mentioned earlier, you can give this test specification and feed it for the test automation. Test automation creates an automated scripts from the test scenarios. You can get as an input the results of Test Assistant. In that case, you will get roughly 95% ready test script immediately, as all the testing structure and all the field data are coming directly from the Test Assistant result. Test Studio connects to T24 in a native way, which means that it understands completely all the contents what are in T24, understands the structure of the screens, what fields you have on versions, what forms you have in a composite screen, or what subversions are there in an AA product. It gives these structures to the users. So scripting with Test Studio means that the users have to fill these forms, what you can see on the screen. That is why within the T24 domain, you don't need any actual coding to create automation scripts. You just need to list the screens you want to interact with and fill in the data for the corresponding screens. These test scenarios can be very easily expanded to a much larger coverage. You can link external data sheets to use data, and this way you can achieve very quickly a very high level of data variation. This makes the test case maintenance also much easier, as these external data sheets can be maintained much easier. So for example, an Excel sheet, you can easily change the data there, and you can very quickly increase the coverage of a test. So for example, when you have a funds transfer, you can in like a few minutes create test scenarios which are using all the currencies which you are using in your bank. The execution results of the test shows in a similar result what you can get with Test Assistant. So it gives a log which contains all the actions and activities which happen during the execution, and also Test Studio takes all the screenshots which were interacted with during the test execution. This result is a full documentation of what happened. It gives you a very easy way to spot and to analyze any possible errors, and makes it very easy to reproduce any kind of anomalies. An automation test pack is not focusing on or is not targeting just a single project or just a single execution, but it is made to operate in a long run. This means that the automation makes you possible to run a full system test on demand, practically as many times as you want. To achieve this, you can use the regression mode of TestStudio, which compares two execution results to each other. Whenever your functionality and your test execution considered as working, that result should be used as a baseline, and every further execution which you make, you can compare it against that baseline. The result of the comparison reveals even the smallest difference between the two executions, and this smallest difference, I mean, is, for example, a length of a field, or even a background color of a screen or of a field. All of these are spotted and highlighted by TestStudio. The benefit of having an automation test pack in a long run is that in an automated script, it keeps the business knowledge of that testing. It keeps all the required actions and steps, even if the proper business experts have to move to other areas. But if you have an automated test pack, you can run and you can test these areas which otherwise would require critical experts. The analysis of this execution result happens in a very fast way, as TestStudio has an enhanced analysis capabilities. It can very quickly and very easily locate similar differences in the execution result, and you can easily, just by a few clicks here and there, configure it to show only the relevant differences. And in the end, to operate a test pack which already contains the test scenarios, so to run a test scenario, run the test pack, maintain the test pack, it only requires a small team to do it in a daily basis. To share the results of any test execution, TestStudio offers default reports, but it can be create any customized reports very easily. One report contains the results of the test execution itself. This means that it has the test specification of the test scenario, meaning the fields, the values, the screen names, and the actual results, and also the corresponding screenshots of them. And the other default result is an overview report of the test pack, which shows a high-level status, showing the executed, non-executed scenarios, and shows where you had errors in which modules, so you can easily spot where you have problems, where you have to focus more in the testing, which parts have been executed, which parts have not, and this way you can get status report and you can get information very quickly from the test pack, which I think concludes this presentation. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, then I think it is now time to ask it.
Thank you so much, Greg, for that lovely presentation. It gave you a bit of a taster of the immense capabilities of TARIS. So our Q&A session is now open, as Greg mentioned. So we are hoping to spend a bit more time to answer most, if not all, your questions. So thank you for those who have submitted their questions on the chat box earlier. So Here are some of the questions. First question is, are all versions of T24 supported? I think it says R16 and R18 and more. Greg?
Yes. So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that we are working together with Temenos hands to hands in many areas of development, including also always the latest version of Transact as well. Meaning that at a time when a new release of T24 or a new release of Transact comes out, Teststudio and TARIS already supports that as well.
Thank you, Greg. Just a follow-up question on that. Do T24 support R20 as well? Can you?
Yes, absolutely. So that basically every T24 release we are supporting, meaning from R6 to R20. And also we are working hands on hands with Temenos supporting testing of the new channels, which means that not just the browser, but also the new UX and also the Kony solutions.
Thank you, Greg. Next question. How fast is TARIS scenario execution? Does it support parallel processing?
TARIS uses the browser interface to interact with T24 in the test execution part, but it is not using any specific browser. This means that by interacting with the user interface, it is somewhat faster than using any browser simulations like Selenium, for example, but not much faster, let's say. On the other hand, it supports full parallel execution as well, so you can speed up test execution by organizing the test execution in parallel threads.
Thank you, Greg. A follow-up question, I think. Can it integrate with T24 code to give us end-to-end testing?
Absolutely. TARIS is capable of automating COB execution. And in this matter, I mean not just executing a COB itself, but automating a full COB runbook. The challenge of COB automation is not just initiating the COB process in T24, but all the activities which you have to do before and after the COB process itself. TARIS has a specific module called Process Manager, which focuses, among other things, the automation of COB runbooks. Here we have pre-automated many typical manual actions which should happen before and after executing the COB job itself, meaning it can start and stop services, it can interact with database table, it can execute commands or scripts in the operation system level and so on. So you have the capability of automate full COB runbooks. These automated runbooks can be executed manually from the process manager, but it also has an API which allows other modules from TARIS to trigger these COB executions. This way you can link this COB runbook into an automated test execution, and from Teststudio it can initiate these COBs.
Thank you so much, Greg. I've got more questions here. Can TARIS test TCID and TCMB user interfaces?
Absolutely. TARIS has different approaches and ways to interact with different technologies and different layers. In a generic way, TARIS can operate as any generic testing tool, which means that it can run any codes which you write in Java. including Selenium scripts or Appium scripts. With the help of these, you can easily automate the test of TCIB and TCMB. However, we are at the moment working on interacting with TCIB and TCMB in a similar native way what we have in case of the Transact, so that you would not need to do also coding in these areas as well.
Thank you, Greg. You mentioned about performance testing earlier. Can you explain to us again, how does it help with the performance testing?
Okay, so TARIS has a specific module for performance testing called Performance Studio. Performance Studio is a non-functional testing tool which allows you many different kind of non-functional testings like bandwidth test, load tests, stress tests, and so on. In the benefit which you get by using it against any other generic testing tool lies in the test preparation part. As in case of Performance Studio, you can simply reuse the already automated scenarios, the already automated transactions, and that will give you an almost ready script so that you don't need to waste time, you don't need to take a lot of time by preparing the scope of performance testing. And this is actually a very critical thing, because performance testing is not a very frequent test compared to functional or regression testing, which you might use in a weekly basis even. So it is very important to finish the preparation part as fast as possible. Now, with using TARIS, you can simply pick the typical transactions which you already automated and give it to Performance Studio, and immediately you have an almost finished script out of it. So the preparation time, the scoping time is significantly faster than with any other tools you can find in the market.
Thank you, Greg. I think I've got one question here for Anthony. Can our investment in test automation be leveraged to provide a low-cost, high-quality training pack for our end users?
Yes, good day, everybody. Certainly, you'll have made a large investment in your new system or upgrade. One area which can sometimes be overlooked to a certain extent is the requirement to train your end users, your staff, to use the system effectively and knowledgeably. Since training budgets are never usually that large, we offer, or TARIS can offer, a module called Tutorial Studio, which can help you to reuse the investment of your business experts and your test automation team's time. You've already invested that in the creation of your test scripts. What the TARIS Tutorial Studio module can do is to take results of suitable TARIS test recordings, as you heard Greg talking about, or automated test execution results, and you can automatically create high quality e-learning to train your end users. All your system customizations can be captured automatically, enabling rapid production of the training as soon as your system is stable. And the solution features fully interactive simulated Temenos screens, resulting in a very engaging and effective learning solution, which requires a minimum maintenance, can be deployed to your learning management system, and doesn't need any kind of background environment which would require maintenance and so on. So the idea is just to make maximum use of the investment you've already made, your business expert and test automation team's time, to enable you to produce training to ensure that your staff have a good understanding of the system.
Thank you, Anthony. We got one question here as well. Do we need a license code for those automated testing tools? Maybe Greg?
Yes, so the testing tool is actually TARIS itself. That is which gives you all the testing frameworks and all the functionalities which you need for testing in manual testing and in test automation as well, and also including the change and release management. The different modules of TARIS are controlled by licenses. So depending on your needs, you can get the corresponding license. So even for one module only or for multiple modules, you can pick which part of it you want to use.
Thank you, Greg. Got quite a few more questions here. How release management is facilitated? I'm not sure, Greg, if you could answer that. Oh,
yeah, let me take this. Yes, thank you very much. Change and release management natively supports all Temenos provided artifacts or change packages. That includes beacon packages, T24 updates, TUFJ updates, or DS packages, or whatever that the originator of the changes is sending to the user organization. Deployment is fully automated out of the box for these standard packages, meaning that you don't need to do any sort of automation or scripting to get full automation of the standard deployment process. Change Manager is also supporting special instructions, or how we call them, manual actions, if you have some extra steps that you need to make change specific during the deployment process. Change Manager offers a pre-automated set of manual actions which can be parameterized to cope with these scenarios as well. And to give you just some basic benchmark, actually the automation of such a case when you need to also automate some special instructions equals, or the time or effort is less than deploying it into a single environment manually. And that is very important because usually you are deploying to multiple environments in sequence, and not yet talking about clustered environments, which is also natively supported by change release management module called Change Manager within TARIS. And one more important thing to mention, that Change Manager is not only Temenos specific, but you can also put the non-core T24 change items or applications within the releases and automated the deployment of these.
Thank you, Balazs. That wraps up our Q&A session for today. I know we have a few more questions on the Q&A. We will aim to answer them via email. So please, if you do have any questions at all for our speakers today, please do email I think our contact details you've already seen from Atoma and also from Testhouse. Thank you to all our audience for all the questions. As an added bonus, I think Testhouse are offering a free consultation service. So I hope you're able to take advantage of this offer. So that concludes our session. So on behalf of myself and our wonderful speakers, we thank you for joining our live presentation and for staying with us until the very end. So see you all next time. Thank you.